The choice to film this inside of a laundromat is funny, you know, because when people leave a new VTuber agency, most of the time they have to go get a new model, and it's basically just like putting on a new costume afterwards, right? I kind of feel like I'm about to start talking at a VTubers Anonymous meeting, but hey, what's up? I'm Kozii, and I used to be part of a VTuber agency called Call Entertainment. I also used to be part of a VTuber group called Prism Virtual, and I just kind of want to talk about how I think VTuber agencies right now in this industry are a bit dangerous and predatory towards most VTubers. Now, this isn't all agencies, this isn't all VTubers, but I think for a vast majority of people who are just getting into the space and don't know better, agencies are very overrated. I'm not even close to the first person to say this, and I don't think I'll be close to the last person to say this, considering the amount of drama that VTuber agencies have been getting into in the last couple of years. But I might be one of the few that's actually been in an agency to do it. This isn't to say that I'm about to go start talking crap about the agency that I was a part of. Not only do I have an NDA that I was under that, I don't know if it still applies or not, but I'm not gonna be that bitch. But also, it just wasn't as bad as some of them out there. Some freaking agencies are wild. So the big things that I want to talk about aren't about agencies that you've already heard about. I don't want to name any names. I don't want to talk specifically about oh, this place is a scam or something like that. What I really want to get into is talking to you as potentially a prospective agency member about what agencies actually can do for you, why you would join an agency, and kind of talk you down from it. Because let's be honest, most people don't actually need an agency. Most content creators are perfectly fine to just start creating content on their own with a camera set up in their bedroom or stuff like that as is. But with VTubing, a lot of people seem to think that you have to start with an agency so that you can get yourself a model and you can get the extra monetary support behind things like music projects and stuff like that. Not necessarily true. Some of this I plan to talk about in other videos. I want to showcase a lot of customizable models and a lot of free models that you can actually get as a starting VTuber and get yourself started in that way. But not talking about model making and stuff like that, because there are options. Let's just talk about the projects part. So a lot of people, when they go to join into a VTuber agency or they think about trying to apply to a VTuber agency, are thinking about it as, if I had the extra support, then I could create a lot more content. I could create a lot more cool things. I could do a lot more songs, and stuff like that, right? Unfortunately, a lot of companies that you are trying to apply to, especially in the English market, some of them might have funding behind them. There are things like Brave Group, which has a lot of funding behind it. There's also things like, obviously, Hololive and Niji Sanji, and even VShojo, which may have some extra funding behind them as some of the biggest VTuber companies out there. But a majority of the companies that people are going to be applying to right now are going to be really tiny agencies. There are going to be things that you find on Twitter. They're going to be things I wouldn't say Idol Corp is a small company, but it's a lot smaller than some. You're going to be applying to places that are on the lower spectrum most of the time. And most of those places can't help you with that. They just straight up can't. VTuber models cost a lot of money. I think we all kind of already know that, but they really do. And especially the designs themselves, the branding pieces, things like overlays, logos, stuff like that. Most of that stuff is considered to be standardized across the industry. So a lot of that stuff is paid for by the companies when you first start. But after you get going in those companies, you probably won't get the type of funding or support that you are hoping for in creating other projects unless you already have become one of their top earning talents. If you've already hit some sort of virality or something like that, they might put some extra money behind you. But a lot of these companies just are not going to do that. A secondary reason that you may have been thinking about joining into an agency is the idea of having a bunch of content creators behind you, which you can just make regular stuff with. You have a regular collab group You have a bunch of people that are all willing to try and push each other farther and try and like improve the company together and try and get to the next level together. Unfortunately, I think that in a lot of cases with these agencies, people will go into it with that mindset, and the people that they end up with don't necessarily have the same style, don't necessarily want the same things, and a lot of the time, there aren't really as tight knit of friendships and like content groups as you would hope there to be. It's the same thing as anything, right? You're joining this agency, you're joining this company, this is a job. You need to work alongside people that you may not necessarily get along with. You need to be like polite to them, you need to be professional with them. And publicly, because this is an agency, because content creation and being a part of a group like that is part of the branding and is part of the product that a company is offering, you have to be able to put aside any kind of differences that you have, and you have to look friendly to each other no matter what on the surface. I honestly don't even think a lot of viewers even think about this. I think that a lot of viewers see the surface level, they see all of the friendship and happiness and all of the collabs happening constantly, and they think that this is true, real friendship. And sometimes it is. Sometimes people can like join an agency together and they can really and seriously and truly love each other and care about each other and like push each other farther and really want the best for each other. But everyone that has joined into an agency has done it with a business mindset. They're there to make money. They're there to further their career. They are not necessarily there to be friends with the other people that they are working with. And a lot of the time, there's a lot of fake friendships that are just publicly nice, and they're part of the branding. They're part of, the show. Honestly, this is the same with when a company puts up auditions for the first time. All of it is just under the same umbrella. The company is trying to make you like them. So they're going to tell you the things that they think are cool on the surface about their company. They're going to tell you maybe their pay cuts if they think they're good. They're going to tell you maybe their merch cuts if they think they're good. They're going to talk to you about all of these like fun, cool things that you could do with your friends. They're going to talk to you about how, oh, everybody's going to get 3D models and you're going to be able to do concerts and stuff like that. But a lot of the things behind the scenes are not necessarily what they would seem to be, because having a good image, looking nice, looking good, looking friendly, looking open, all of that is branding. A company does not have your best interests in mind most of the time, and a company still needs to make money at the end of the day. A lot of these talent agencies do have some really amazing people behind them. People like the management and stuff like that will probably care a lot more about you, but at the same time, they're going to have to make a lot of hard decisions, and they're going to have to not help you out with certain things because they just don't have the funding, they don't have the ability to do everything. This can also be seen in talent-hosted things, like when the talents all get together to talk about what it was like to be inside of an agency. Sometimes, not always, definitely so in my case, I think, the talents are talking up the company. They're talking about the best parts of the company, but they're not necessarily talking about the things that they don't like. They're not necessarily telling you all of the problems behind it. You have to take everything that a company or its talents say with a grain of salt. And I think more importantly, or maybe even most importantly, you need to look at a company and you need to speak to the company about the things that you need and find out how many of those things it can actually provide for you. You don't need a company to create merch for you. You can actually use a lot of ready-made print shops to get merch made, but if you don't want to do that route, you can actually make your own merch. Check out a place called Vograce. It's actually the place that most artists and also most companies tend to use for merchandise production for things like acrylic figures and keychains and stuff like that. Also, you can check out any number of the merch companies that have opened up that help VTubers to make merch for themselves. But even then, if you are small enough, you may not even necessarily need merch. I am at a point right now where I don't really need to make merch. It would be a nice thing for my fans to have, and I may make some through Fourth Wall, which is one of those ready print shops, but it's not something that I'm going to be making a lot of money off of. It's going to take more to produce than it is that I'm going to like gain from it. So just think about that realistically. How much do you actually need merch? How much do you want merch, etc.? Also, even if a company says that they can provide the things that you're asking for, keep in mind that they may not necessarily do that. They might not follow through with what they promised to you. I, for instance, really wanted when I started out in a company, and I said this in my video when I left my company, I really wanted to have a company that I could have other VTubers to interact with on YouTube with. I am a YouTube-centric VTuber. I really prefer to stream on YouTube. I really prefer the atmosphere of YouTube. So I wanted to join an agency that could also have other people on YouTube with me, and we could all push each other farther. But unfortunately, out of, I think, 9 talents total, only 1 was a dedicated YouTube VTuber, and only 2 or 3 actually did streams for more than the course of a month. Besides me, obviously. The point of this all is really just to say that VTuber agencies are trying to make you like them. They're trying to tell you the best parts about things, but they may not necessarily be telling the whole truth. They may be lying by omission. There may be other things behind the scenes that you don't even know are a thing. There may be people that dislike each other when you even get into the agency, and you don't know about that because they can't be public about it, because part of the brand image is being nice to each other. They may not be able to offer you much. They may not be able to help you out with a bunch of music videos. They may not be able to give you new assets. They may not be able to even get you really good rigging on your model, even if they can get you a model in the first place. Because a lot of companies, honestly, not only do they not have a lot of money, they'll also usually go for things like Fiverr rigging, or like they'll find really cheap alternatives to get a bunch of VTuber models rigged quickly. So it's not quality rigging on top of getting a model. There's a lot of corners that are cut because they need to provide things for a large number of people, usually. What I would suggest is if you really, really want to be a part of a VTuber agency, what you're going to have to do when you first start out is you have to scrutinize the whole application form. You have to look through the whole thing. You have to see what kind of questions they're asking. You have to see how they're asking them. You have to see if it seems like something that's more money focused, if they seem like they're just trying to grab people who have high viewership first. You have to check and see who the CEOs are, where they came from, what their background is, where their history lies. In my case, when I checked my agency out, they had clear company listings. I think that's best. I think if they can provide companies that they work for or that they are affiliated with right off the bat, that makes them a little bit more trustworthy. But they are still a company, and they're still trying to do what's best for them and their bottom line more than they are what's best for your bottom line. So you're going to have a lot of different needs versus what a company would need. Please check out the channels of VTubers that are part of the agency that you're trying to get into, if they already exist, if this isn't like a first gen sort of thing, right? Check out the company profiles, check out the people that you're going to be working with. By the way, can I just say, the people that apply to agencies, usually you do it without knowing anything about the talents, and most of those agencies noticed that, and they remove you from the application process most of the time, because they do actually want you to at least know who their talents are and like what they're providing in the company. There were so many people that applied to our company that had no clue who the heck we were. Even like in the second round of interviews, there were people who were like, who? when they talked about some of us. So, but anyway, yeah, please check out the channels of the VTubers of the company that you are thinking about. See how they are, see what their growth has been like as long as they've been with the company. See how fast they've grown, how slow they've grown. Keep that in mind, because part of the reason why you might want to join an agency is to see better growth as an indie. So keep it in mind how much they're actually growing versus what they say on their socials, or like what they tell you in the interview process or stuff like that. Also, keep in mind how many events they've done. I think that a big tell for how well a company is doing is how many events are being put on, or like how many new reveals they're doing. I think that that's a really important thing to keep in mind if you're trying to join into a company, because if you don't see that happening, there's probably not as much happening behind the scenes either. There's probably not that much going on with sponsorships. There's probably not that much going on with like concerts. All of that stuff tends to be a little more obvious when you keep in mind how many events they've done. Anyway, okay, that's basically my rant about agencies, but the point is, you don't really need an agency. I really don't think you do. I think that most content creators, most VTubers that want to become more popular in the space, what you really need to look into is content itself. You need to try and see if there is a better way to create the content that you make right now. If there's more stuff that you can do for free. There's a lot of free assets out there, and a lot of streamers that aren't VTubers tend to use a lot of them. I also plan on listing out a bunch of different places that I get cool backgrounds or cool customizable models or stuff like that at a different point in time, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested in that stuff. And I've actually been listing out in each one of the videos that I've done so far where you can find the backgrounds that I've been using, because I freaking love K-Studio and they made all of them and you can buy them. You can go buy yourself a laundromat right now. Anyway, okay, so that is basically it. Sorry. That's basically it. I hope you guys have a good day, and I hope this was a little less controversial than maybe the last one was. Who knows? All right, bye!